What's up, everybody? Jay Miller here, and I am recording on February 17th, 2020 at 7:35 p.m. I have missed podcasting, even though I've been podcasting every week for several months. As you may or may not know, we put the Productivity and Tech podcast on hiatus as of October. I think it was October 30th was around. We did the last episode with Jeff Triplett, good friend of mine. And, I did that for a good reason. One, I was working on a couple of projects that I really wanted to get knocked out. And honestly, that spark to do an interview style podcast was just slowly waning. Not to say that I don't want to ever not do an interview again. I just don't want to do interviews every single week. It's funny, listening to some of the people that I've had on the show go out and do their own podcasts, their own interview shows. I'm so amazed at how well they are able to ask questions and do the research and get all of these things done just by themselves and really plan out and execute on a great show. I just don't have that in me anymore. There are so many things that I would rather be doing. And honestly, time is short. The decision that I made to stop doing interviews is shortly after my 30th birthday, shortly after my daughter turned a year old. And honestly, I don't regret it, but I did miss reaching out and connecting with everyone inside of the Pit world, the Pit ecosystem, being productive and in tech. And you might even hear my daughter in the background a little bit. I'm not going to do too much editing on these. I just want to get something out there, let people hear my voice. I'm still alive. I'm still out there, still doing stuff. But I thought about it, and for this season of Productivity in Tech, I think it's going to be more focused on what I'm up to, what Productivity in Tech as a business is up to, and honestly, just what's been going on in my head and in my thoughts. So let's jump into that. A few years ago, I got diagnosed with ADHD, and ever since, I've really wanted to figure out how I best got things done. Now, many of you know that I am a productivity fiend. I love the idea of being more productive. The whole premise of Productivity in Tech some 6 years ago started with the idea of how do I learn how to be more productive, and maybe it's from learning from others. But one of the things that I have been wrestling with is a productivity system that I am willing to stick with. If you ask me today what my productivity system looks like, well, it's something like this. I have a notebook that I write things down in each day, and I try to do those things. And then anything that has to extend beyond that day, it goes into OmniFocus or Todoist. Now, you might be asking, well, what's the difference between OmniFocus and Todoist? Honestly, there isn't. Some days I'm in an OmniFocus mood, and some days I'm in a Todoist mood. The reason I feel like I can get away with this is, honestly, neither one of them is serving the purpose that my notebook is doing, which is the day-to-day, week by week, big idea, big picture productivity. A lot of these are just, maybe I'll get a notification saying, hey, don't forget, you got to do this thing, which I could probably even do that in something like reminders for iOS. But I ultimately am still struggling with the idea of big picture planning. Uh, the tool that I wanted to use more than anything was Basecamp. And the reason for that is the work that I do when it comes to non personal productivity, which are the things that tend to make it into these larger project managers, those that kind of work is stuff that requires a lot of thought, a lot of planning. Now, recently, a good friend of mine, Mike Schmitz, just put out, well, along with the Suite Setup, I definitely want to give the whole team their credit. They just put out a mind mapping course, and I really want to take a look into that. I've been mind mapping for a while, but with no ability to really organize my thoughts around it. And that's something that, as a developer, I tend to think about more and more and more is how do I structure projects that I'm working on so that I don't feel like I'm just, hammering away or, chiseling clay, not knowing what the end result's supposed to look like. And I'm really hoping that this course will solve that problem, but honestly, I can't say that it will. I mean, that's the thing with productivity is you can read every productivity book in the world, but until you actually start trying to apply things and do it with some form of discipline and consistency, it's not really going to matter what you've read. But that said, I really do want to explore how I run productivity in tech, the business, in a more productive way, how I manage my tasks, my projects, my goals, and the ability to grow this idea into the successful business that I know it can be. I want to catch up with everyone and let people know what I've been up to. So, I've been working on a couple of things. The first one is a tool called Render Engine. Now, most people know that I develop using Python, and one of the things that I really enjoy is building websites. And not just any websites. I like building static websites. There's nothing cooler than being able to spin up a site that's lightning fast, that has all the information that you need on it, that looks nice, and that I can literally pick up and drop from server to server, from computer to computer without having to think about, oh, I got to make sure the database is connected and I got to make sure I have permissions to this and all of these other things. That's something that I have not liked doing for a long time. So I love static pages and static sites. However, I had some concern with what the static site world looked like in terms of Python. Now, there are some other tools out there that can build these static sites, and they are pretty effective. There's Pelican, there's Pyramid, there's a few, and then of course outside of Python there are other languages like Ruby has Jekyll, and then there's Hugo for Go, and in JavaScript you have like 47,000 other ones, but I think Gatsby is kind of the big one these days. Elixir is another one that's like that, but all of these things, none of these really work from like a Python first perspective. So I built a tool called Render Engine. It is available in the Python package index. I do update it regularly, but it is definitely in alpha. So I wouldn't say run your multi-million dollar empire off of it. There could definitely be some problems with that. I am currently using it to run both my personal website and the productivity and tech website, as it's running the latest version of Render Engine, and I am in active development of Render Engine. So that's been really cool. Just the idea of building a thing that helps people build things. That's something super meta, super interesting, but falls directly in line with the mission statement that Productivity in Tech has, which is to help tech creators create. So I've been working a lot on that, especially since October. And later at the beginning of the year, I actually started building another tool, which was something that I had talked about. It started as a little script that allowed me to start Amazon transcriptions for my podcast and for others' podcasts. And I was doing a lot of transcription work. It was good money, but man, it took a long time. So I wondered, well, what if I could make a Wikipedia of sorts for podcast transcriptions? So I did that, and it's called Transcriptor. It's also definitely in alpha. You can sign up for it and get a free account. You can actually start loading podcasts in for free. There will be premium features there. It talks about a premium account, but all of those functions are currently just disabled until I can finish testing and verifying that they all work. But building a thing, this is built using a Django framework, which is something that I have definitely looked at in the past. And I will be honest, I was very nervous about implementing, not because I don't have faith in Django, I don't have faith in myself to stay interested in learning Django. When I first started programming, and I guess it's story time today, when I first started programming, I actually was learning Ruby before I was learning Python. And the thing that, I was blazing through like free code camp exercises. I was a Ruby wizard, just going at it and enjoying life. And then I got to the completion and it said, congratulations, you now know Ruby. Now it's time to learn something called Rails. And I felt like I was starting over with Ruby. I felt like Ruby on Rails and Ruby were two completely different things that just happen to have a similar syntax. And honestly, that's how I feel about Django at times. I feel like Django, at its core, is Python, but when I'm writing in Django, I don't feel like I'm writing in Python, unless I'm doing something very, like way out there in left field. And maybe that's just a hang up that I've had. I've always steered clear of Django for that reason. I've used other tools like Flask and things like that. But this was a tool that if I really wanted to see it completed, I knew that I would need the power of Django to handle user accounts and all these other things out there. And it's a funny coincidence that my last interview that I did was with Jeff Triplett, who works on the Django team and is one of the organizers for DjangoCon US, which actually happens in my hometown of San Diego. So I will probably be at the next DjangoCon so I can learn as much as possible. But also, I have a direct connection with a few folks, including Jeff, who are deeply versed in the art of Djangoism. They are very strong Django knots. So shout out to all of them. But yeah, I really found it interesting that I was working on two completely different paradigms in Python web frameworks. You have the iconic, fully fledged, fully capable system that is Django that can actually do all of the things that Render Engine can do. But then you have this other idea, of, I don't want to say purity, but like this idea of only bringing what you need to the table that is Render Engine. Now, all of this is just me rambling. This is just my thoughts for the day. I just missed y'all and I wanted to reach out, say, hey, I'm alive. Here's what I've been thinking about. Here's what I am currently working on. And ultimately, reach out to y'all for any type of advice, support, tips, tricks, hints, clues. Yeah, I am currently just going to keep working on Render Engine and Transcriptor. Probably more Render Engine than Transcriptor these days. Again, it's not that either one is really at a stage where I can publish it and have it run full time. It's just a matter of interest. These things come in waves, and right now the biggest wave is on Render Engine, especially as I'm giving a talk about it in 2 weeks, which I still need to finish. So there is that thing looming in front of me, but I also wanted to just share that I am still figuring things out. On the business side, we still have a few clients, a couple clients we're doing okay there. It's I'll have more thoughts on that probably as I continue to record these kind of things. I'm not quite sure what the 2020 season release schedule will be, but I am definitely excited for what is to come. But I think I'm going to end it there. This has been a good 15-minute catch up with me, what I've been working on, what my thoughts, my anxieties are. And yeah, if you enjoyed this, just let me know on Twitter. I am currently not accepting new entrances into the Slack channel, but if you really, really, really want to join, send me a DM. I might make the exception, but we're definitely not opening it up to the public. We are definitely a closed group that is closely connected with helping one another be more productive, and we want people to more like that to join us. So yeah, if you want to know more about that, you can DM me. I'm on Twitter at KJYMiller. Of course, if you are a podcaster and you want help with your podcast, or if you are creating something and you're a developer and you just need help on the marketing side, on the content creation side, then let me know. You can go to productivityandtech.com, where I am building tools to help you build that thing that you want to build. And that's going to do it. I am Jay Miller, and I will talk to you next time.